Hello, welcome. This is Chris Morgan. We are about to start editing in Reactor. I'm going to launch Reactor. It will come up with a blank document, untitled Ensemble. The first thing we're going to do is say New Ensemble. That creates a blank document up here, kind of worthless, small size. So what I always like to do, this instrument, you can see is too small. I'm going to add another instrument to my ensemble by holding down the control key. I'm sorry, double click on this instrument. um, Back up to the top level here. There's the instrument that was created at this top level of the ensemble. And notice how I did that. I double clicked here, double clicking, getting into the structure of this instrument, then clicking up a level. So it's a little circuitous way to get there. But at this top level here, these are the inputs from my sound card. These are the outputs to my sound card here as an instrument. And just in terms of editing, if you double click on an object that has a lower level, things inside of it, you go into that level. And you can see I have instrument here. That's nothing inside this instrument. If I double click anywhere on a blank area, it takes me back up a level. So here I'm back up the level of my sound card. I'm going to control click or right click to get the contextual menu, and under instrument you can see that I could add another instrument if I wanted, but in this case I want to add a master instrument. And what that does, the only purpose for that is to give me a main volume control and also allow me to make that display better. So what we're looking at right now is the structure. There are two types of displays. You have the structure, which pretty much contains everything, and then there's the panel. This icon here showing these boxes connected toggles between those two views. So you see there's our instrument that we created first, and there is the master that I just created. And again, it serves no function except to give me a slightly wider display there. Makes it easier to work with. And so now I'm working with the view here. I can also view a split screen. And if you see, I click again on that toggle between panel versus structure, and I back in the structure view here, and I can split the screen to see two views of the same structure, one when I could tunnel down in and or back up, or I could be looking at the panel in one of those displays. And as I double click here, go all the way back up and see the panel version here and the structure there, or a vertical split screen where I've got the panel here. Now we don't have any objects in our panel. We do have a couple of things in the master, the tuning, and again the master volume over here. But we're gonna populate this instrument with some visual things in a little while. But right now I can see my structure of my instrument, and there's nothing there, so there's nothing to show up in the panel. So what we're gonna do now is start editing and start building a subtractive synth. So I'm gonna leave the panel up there at the top so we can see that. But then I'm going to start by building a very, very simple subtractive synth. In fact, it's not even going to be subtractive at this point. It's just going to be something that generates a tone. So you can see I've got my instrument already hooked up. It just did that by default, but I'm going to double click and go into a level here. So I've got left and right in, hooked up from the level above, left and right out, hooked out from the bottom. It's good to mention for 1 second that these funny curlicue object here that's there by default is called the voice combiner. It's necessary to deal with polyphony. If you see on my instrument here, I've got 4 voices. The way Reactor has to deal with these multiple voices is to eventually combine them with the voice combiner. So you can just basically ignore that. And since the synth we're going to build is not stereo, it's mono, I'm going to actually delete one of them and just take the output of the first one there. So I'm going to have a mono synthesizer for now. Goes to both to the left and right outputs. And again, that left and right outlets there correspond up a level to the outs of the sound card. Okay, so very quickly we will build something that generates a tone. We're going to do this multiple times. So here we go. You'll see it several times. First off, I'm going to hold down the control key or right click. 95% of what we'll do will be in the built-in module. I'll go to oscillator and bring in the saw FM. You can choose all these different types of saws, triangles, parabolic, sine, FMs. I like to use the FM versions because that prepares us for frequency modulation later. and we can copy and paste our code more easily. But regular sawtooth would be fine. I'll use saw FM, and you can see it takes a pitch input. The red means it's a control rate, very slow, but the black inputs mean audio rate, so at your sample rate, 44 kilohertz, 48 kilohertz, pitch, frequency, and amplitude, and the output. Notice that when I connect this to the voice combiner, which is going to go into the sound card, it will light up, and it's ready to go. Now I need something to give it pitch. I'll control click or right click, built-in module, MIDI in, note pitch. I'll hook that up, it will light up, and that lastly I need something to turn the sound on. It will not function with just a pitch, it needs some amplitude. Here the name is a little bit harder to remember, but it's just gate. Because remember, this is built by programmers, engineers. They think of on-off things, opening, closing as gates. For us as musicians, we think of it as the MIDI note on velocity, but that's also accounted for. But now I hook this up, and at this point I'm going to turn the volume down just a little bit because I'm going to have a fully modulated ramp wave. It's not going to sound very pretty, and it works perfectly fine. Without the pitch, it would not have it would not be high enough to hear. It'd just be at default to 0. Without the gate, it would have 0 amplitude. But now we have a fully functioning tone, and that's a good place to start. And after following this video, we're going to add more waveforms, add envelope generators, LFOs, and then eventually filters to make a subtractive synth.